This is a par 5 opener. If the land allows it to happen, we like a par 5 start. Around the green, we really were focused more on short grass, becoming the quote-unquote hazard. You've got the pin on the extreme right side of the green behind the mounds, and you want to play well out to the left to get a good angle into it. Number 2 is a long par 4. You've got to bear down here. Elevated tee is the highest part of the property. If you don't get it down the hill, you're probably looking at a hybrid or a longer iron into the green, but it's receptive. Yeah, but there's always the water lurking down the left side. Number 3 is a short par 4. First carry-over water on the golf course. If you want to take a bold line down the left-hand side and carry more of the water, you'll get a much better line into the green. Number 4, I think, is probably the prettiest golf hole on the course. Definitely a very difficult green to hit. There's some significant contour in it, pretty well defined with runoffs and drop-offs into the bunkers. 5th hole, par 5, second par 5 on the golf course. This one's a little bit more reachable than number 1. Water all down the left-hand side. To shorten the golf hole, you need to play along the water. Green is the second smallest on the golf course, heavily defended with some deep bunkers cut up into the ridge. Number 6 is par 3. There are 2 angles to play the golf hole. The original line of play was from the left-hand side, playing into a punch bowl, big dune that kicks into the golf hole from the left-hand side. From the average golfer's standpoint, it's going to be one of the most fun holes on the golf course. 7th hole is a beast. It is probably the hardest hole on the entire golf course. If you can carry the right-hand fairway bunkers, you can have an elevated shot into the green. The green complex itself is a significant false front. The green actually then swoops around to the right, so there's some very difficult hole locations placed over the bunker on the right-hand side of the green. 8th hole, medium length par 3, playing just off of the back of the 7th green to a large green, sort of a very low bowl along a greenside bunker on the left-hand side, a high ridge on the right that you can actually play a ball off of and feed it back in. The 9th hole, one of my favorites, it had a green tucked between a couple of mounds. If we tuck a pin behind the right-hand mound, you want to get as far left as you possibly can to get into it. A really fun hole and one I'm most excited to see the players play. Much like the front 9, starting with a par 5, when you transition into the back 9, you've got a par 5 start there. You've got water down the left-hand side. You know, the tee shot really needs to either be hit dead straight or with a little bit of draw to hold into the wind. We've got greenside bunkers fronting along the right-hand side and bunkers over the back. The 11th hole off of the tee sits down low. You're playing up over a bunker that's shared between 11 and 12 fairway. The front left is wide open for that running approach shot on this long par 4. 12th hole is in back-to-back long par 4s at over 500 yards, probably the longest par 4 on the golf course. 13 is the one hole where no matter who comes out here the very first time, like, wow, I like this hole. It really has a lot of character. It's different. Players are tempted, to try and carry it over the tree on the corner. We left the lone ficus tree there. The green is very heavily contoured. You just finished the 13th hole playing primarily downwind. Now you're turning on 14. You're playing with the wind coming across. Putting surface itself, beautifully contoured. Fairly gentle in spots, but again, a pretty sharp drop off to the left-hand side. 15 starts the march home. You turn with your back to the ocean. Prevailing wind should be helping on this hole. This bunker that we cut just in the start of the fairway, we thought if we built this bunker in the foreground and popped it up to a point where it's fairly high, then that gives you a feeling of elevation change that you ultimately encounter as you get down to the green. So you finish 15, you hike up onto 16T. It's a drivable par 4. The green itself is kind of hourglass shape. I'm hopeful that the setup team will choose some of these little perimeter locations. The 17th hole is the shortest par 3 on the golf course. I'll let the players be aggressive, and when you get aggressive, sometimes you might make a mistake, or you might pull off a great shot. 18's par 5 back into the prevailing wind. Players will be carrying over a large native area that obscures a little bit of the visibility of the fairway. You're down to the 18th hole and there's a gold medal on the line. Having to introduce just that little kernel of doubt in their minds, or that little extra thought process, and just getting and trusting that line with all that pressure there. Just off the front of the green, there's a valley of sin. If they miss short, they're going to have to play through some tightly maintained turf over some very interesting contours to get up onto the green. Hopefully one of those iconic Olympic moments will occur on this 18th green, and we would be very, very proud if that happens.